friends, and welcome back to the Nothing Pretty podcast. Y'all, we are starting every episode like we always do, and that's with a yap. Let me know how you're doing. Tell me how your week was. If you're in the car, if you're at home, if you're sitting on the couch listening to this, I want you to pause and let me know how was your week. Who got on your nerves? Okay, because I'm going to tell you got on my nerves. Tell me, was it your mama, your coworkers, your partner? Let me know how your week was. As for me, I actually had a really good week. I am preparing for a trip. I'm going on vacation. It's been a long time, but I am going on vacation and I am really looking forward to it. It has been tough balancing work with preparing for this trip. All the girls know when you're going on a trip, you got to do all the things. You got to get your hair, your nails, everything. And so this week has been busy, but it feels so good to just be able to unplug. This is my first cruise. If you ever been on a cruise, drop in the comments below and let me know what cruise you've been on, where did y'all go, and what was your experience like? Not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous. I have never been on a cruise. I've never been in the middle of the water and I can't swim. So I'm high-key nervous about this cruise, but I'm really excited for vacation. So again, I hope you paused and let me know how you were doing. If you want to yap a little bit more and you need a little bit more time, shoot me an email to mp@raquelhammonds.com. That's N as in nothing, P as in pretty at raquelhammonds.com. So let's get into it. Today, we are talking about something very niche, but that I think really impacts a lot of us, and that is spiraling at night. So I'm getting your business. I want to know what you be doing at night, okay? Do you go to bed or are you scrolling on that phone? Are you binging a show? What do you do when it's time to go to sleep? So I want to talk about nighttime spiraling. Because for a lot of people, the daytime is manageable, right? So we wake up, we can go to work, we can do all the things, we can communicate. But when we lay down at night, when it's time to cut the lights down, turn your phone off, turn your TV off, that's when our brain completely turns on, okay? And that's true for so many people, including me. Nighttime spiraling is a real thing that impacts a lot of us. And what makes nighttime spiraling so frustrating is that it feels uncontrollable. It feels like something that we can't control. You tell yourself that you'll stop thinking about it, but as soon as you close your eyes, your brain immediately starts to think about all the things that you should have done today. Did you text that person back? Should you apply to that job? Did you say the wrong thing? Did you walk weird at Whole Foods? Did I actually finish the task at work? Our brain, when we close our eyes or try to close our eyes, our brain goes crazy. So today, I want to talk about nighttime spiraling and really give you some tools to stop that spiraling. Before we get into the tools, I want to tell you a little bit about my own story. So when I was in med school, it was, I'm going to say my sophomore year. I had the opportunity to get a fellowship in Chicago, and I was working with these young girls on the south side of Chicago. And when I was in the program, not only was I in school, but I had to drive to Chicago every Wednesday, and I had to coach these young girls, and we talked a lot about self-image. Well, I was balancing that fellowship with 26 credit hours in med school, and it completely overwhelmed me. Before that, I had never had problems with my sleep in my life. I could immediately lay down, go to sleep. It was no problem. But when I started trying to balance this fellowship with school, something happened in my brain. Like it literally could not turn off. I was thinking about what it looked like to drive from the suburbs of Chicago to the beautiful downtown, to the food desert and the destruction that I saw going to the south side. I would think about how can I help these girls? I would think about what am I going to do after school? I would think about, wow, my account is negative. Wow, what am I going to eat? It was like my brain, for some reason, this year would not turn off and my sleep was disrupted like never before. That was the first time I ever dealt with nighttime spiraling. And also, it was the first time that I started to watch things at night to go to sleep. That was my first unhealthy pattern. Is that because my brain wouldn't turn off, I started to turn on something For me, it was like I Love Lucy or Golden Girls or whatever it was. I had to turn on something to make my brain relax. And that was the first time I ever experienced nighttime spiraling. If I can be completely honest with you, I thought I was losing my mind. I did not know why my brain could not turn off. And for so long, I thought it was because of me. But I want to give you a little bit of context. What I learned is that our brain has something called a default mode network. And that default mode network is something that becomes more active when we are resting or not focused on a task. Our default mode network is responsible for self reflection, for memory, for processing, and unfortunately, also for worry. So when our brain isn't busy, it turns inward. And if you're prone to anxiety, like me, that inward turn can mean spiraling into fear. So what I thought was me losing my entire mind was actually my brain turning inward, and instead of relaxing, it was starting to reflect on all the things that I was taking in from school to seeing the horrible circumstances those young girls were living in. And so what I had to do was first I actually started going to acupuncture. I'm going to be completely honest. This was not just a book I read or something I did real quick. I actually had to go to acupuncture, and that was the first thing that helped me to calm down. That was what was true for me. And it was also the first time I started to go to therapy. I had the most amazing therapist who also helped me to learn a little bit about dysregulation and the things that can happen when our brain begins to spiral. Through those processes, through acupuncture and through therapy, I learned three things, which I call rules, but on Nothing Pretty, we call them anchors. I learned three anchors that can help me and help you to break nighttime spiraling. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about nighttime spiraling and how you can break it today. Okay, we're back, and now we're going to talk about the rules, the three rules that you can start today to stop your nighttime spiraling. Now, one thing I want to make very clear on the Nothing Pretty podcast, I like to think of rules as anchors. To be completely honest, I like to think of anchors like almost like stoppers. I don't know if you remember those little stoppers they would have in elementary school or in middle school. They would stick them in the door and it will hold the door open. I like to think of our anchors as things that break our patterns right in the middle, especially unhealthy patterns. They kind of serve as a wedge to break those patterns in half. And so when it comes to nighttime spiraling, your first rule is going to be no big decisions after 9 p.m. So this rule is simple but powerful, because remember, at night, your brain is not a reliable narrator. Everything sounds more dramatic, more urgent, and more hopeless than it actually is. So if you spiral at night, I don't have to tell you. When you lay down at night and you close your eyes, your brain is saying, girl, you need to quit that job. Those people are pissing you off. Quit that job. Go work at a coffee shop. Go open a bakery. Everything we're doing is falling apart. Did I respond to that text? Was I weird? At night, our brain, our subconscious goes crazy. And remember, our brain's default mode network is reflecting and making up stories that don't exist. So anything that your brain tells you at night, I want you to tell your brain, I hear you. But anything after 9 p.m. is not decision-making time. I want you to sometimes even say out loud, I hear you, but this is not urgent. We will not solve this right now. On that same vein, for rule number 2, you have to get the thoughts out of your head and onto something else. So when you have those thoughts that feel big and overwhelming, I want you to take the thought and immediately get it out of your brain and onto something tangible, something you can feel. So for me, I always like to keep a journal next to my bed, loose pieces of paper, or even just the notes app on my phone. I want you to be able to take the things that your brain is saying so that your brain knows, I hear you. I hear you. I know you want me to quit. You want me to do something bigger. You want me to think about the way that I said the thing that I said at work. You want me to think about the text that I sent or the love of my life or whatever it is. Your brain is trying to tell you something. But to stop that spiral in its tracks, for rule number 2, I want you to get it out of your head and onto something else. So on paper or in the notes app in your phone, I want you to tell your brain, I see you. I'm not ignoring this. I'm just not carrying it all night. So write it down, type it out, but stop that thought in its tracks. And finally, for rule number 3, you have to ground the body before you try to calm the mind. So I want you to remember that calm is a state of being. It's not a command. So you can't say, be calm. Like your body's like, girl, no, that doesn't work. Calm is a state of being. So I have a really good friend named Courtney. I love her so much. I hope she'll come on the pod one day. But Courtney told me about the Calm app. Now, this is not a paid ad. The Calm app is something I have used for years thanks to Courtney. Courtney put me onto this, and it has been a lifesaver for me. The reason why I love the Calm app is because, and you can ask my partner, Chris knows, I listen to Jasper every night. Okay, Jasper is just a sound, but it is the most relaxing sound to help you just go to bed at night. But the even better thing about the Calm app is that they have sleep stories. And these sleep stories are told by different like authors and narrators that help you to ease into sleep. It can be a guided meditation, or it can be a story about a faraway land in London. I don't know. But it's like they have a little hypnosis in their voices, but it helps your body prepare for sleep. So for rule number 3, it is helping you to ground your body. So before you're even sleepy, so let's just say it's 9 or 10 or 11, you take your shower. What I like to do is immediately turn on my Calm app, start to listen to a sleep story or turn on my sounds. And these things help my body to ground even before it's time for me to go to sleep. So these things help me to ease into sleep and stop that spiral in its tracks. We're going to pause and take a listener letter for someone else who is also struggling with spiraling and listen to what she has been struggling with. So we're back with our listener letter. And this, okay, I know I keep saying that these are my favorites, but y'all, please keep sending me these listener letters. If you want to yap with me or tell me what you're struggling with, I will literally create the episode around your chaos, my chaos. Please reach out to me at np@raquelhammonds.com. That's N as in nothing, P as in pretty, at raquelhammonds.com. But today we are hearing from our girl Tiana. And Tiana, you gave me the cackle I needed this week, okay? So Tiana said, hi, Dr. Raquel. My name is Tiana. This email was drafted at 11:48 p.m., reread at 12:03 a.m., emotionally escalated at 12:17 a.m., and finally sent at 12:41 a.m. for reasons I cannot explain. I am a night spiraler. Daytime me is confident. Daytime me is rational. Daytime me believes in growth, boundaries, and everything happens for a reason. Nighttime me thinks I have ruined my entire life because of one mildly awkward interaction that happened in 2019. At night, my brain runs a highlight reel of every mistake I've ever made, but in 4K. Suddenly, I'm questioning my career, my friendships, my personality, and whether I should have answered that text differently 3 hours ago. I start rewriting conversations that already happened. I draft apology texts to people who are currently asleep and did not ask. Real, same. I tell myself I'm just thinking things through, but honestly, I am catastrophizing. I've noticed a pattern. The second my phone goes down and the world gets quiet, my thoughts get loud. I replay, overanalyze, predict imaginary futures, and convince myself that everyone else has their life together except me. It's like my brain waits until bedtime to drop a surprise performance review. I've tried deep breathing, I've tried journaling, I've tried putting my phone away, which lasted 7 minutes and 3 business seconds. I don't need another reminder to just relax. I need rules, boundaries, a cease and desist letter for my thoughts. So, my question is, how do you stop spiraling at night when your brain thinks midnight is the perfect time to unpack your entire existence? Respectfully, Tiana. So, Tiana, I feel like you in my business, and I feel like we're the same person. But I'm going to answer this as honestly as I can. And I love that you said that you need rules because that's so real. Sometimes people will say, girl, just go to bed. And sometimes that's not realistic. I can't. I'm trying to go to sleep, but my mind is thinking about so much. When you have so many responsibilities, when you're thinking about the person you want to be, it feels like when I lay down, this is the only time I have to think about it. So I want you to really remember that, yes, it makes sense that when you actually have that time to relax, that your brain is actually able to turn on. And I want you to remember in this episode, when you go back and listen, you'll learn about your brain's default mode network. So your brain is reflecting on those things, but I want you to remember the rules we learned tonight. You're a person that's very self-aware, so you need rules to help you to stop the spiral. And the one thing that I think will really help you is going to be getting it out of your head and onto something else. So when you lay down and your brain starts to think about all of those awkward things. So did I send that text in a weird way? Did I say that thing wrong? What are the goals I have for myself? Maybe your brain isn't completely wrong. Maybe this is something to pay attention to. But remember, there are no big decisions after 9 p.m. So take those thoughts that you have and get it onto paper. Write it down, put it in your notes app, and come back to it the next day when you can think clearly about it and actually have an action plan. If you want to write an apology text, then write down, hey, I need to respond to Chad and tell him I was tripping. I'm sorry. But just put it in the notes app because tomorrow it might be fuck Chad. But write down, okay? This is not the time to think about it. I want you to actually write this down, put it in your notes app, and let it rest. Because the only way to stop the spiral is to get it on paper and move away from it. Okay? So I want you to give yourself that space to actually have those thoughts, get those thoughts out of your mind, and ground your body to get the rest you deserve. This is the part of the show where we get intentional. Tiana, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It literally leads us right into our next brave thing. If you're new here, our next brave thing helps us to make small, courageous choices. What we promise to ourselves on the Nothing Pretty podcast is to, number one, make a new decision in the next 24 hours. And number two, commit to that decision for the next 7 days. So this week, our next brave thing is going to be choosing one of the rules we learned today, committing to it for the next 24 hours, and then continuing it for the next 7 days. So if you're a nighttime spiraler like me, these are the 3 rules I want you to think about. No big decisions after 9 p.m. Get it out of your head and onto something else. And ground the body before you try to calm the mind. If you commit to this, I want you to write in the comments, promise. One word, promise. I want you to make a promise to yourself that you're going to commit to one of these 3 things in the next 24 hours and for the next 7 days. And before we end, we are going to close like we always do, and that is with what we're drinking to cope. Today we're drinking tequila again. Okay, let me just say something. I am not a lush. Okay? But tequila is my drink of choice, all right? And today we are drinking to cope with letting tomorrow handle tomorrow. Now that'll preach. If you know your word, letting tomorrow handle tomorrow is a word, okay? So this week we are coping with letting tomorrow handle tomorrow. Whatever you have today, whether it's water, tea, air, I want you to raise it with me. So here's to quieter nights and to gentler thoughts. Cheers. Thank y'all so much for coming to kick it with me today. I really enjoyed talking about nighttime spiraling. This is something we don't talk enough about because it can be very uncomfortable. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks where we will continue to evolve. Remember, there is nothing pretty about the process, but there is always purpose in the pieces. I love you. Bye, y'all.